He-Man's showing war wounds. Here's your look at the new Mattel Masters of the Universe Origins Battlefield Warriors Battle Armor He-Man and Battle Cat. This exciting 2-pack features deluxe battle-damaged He-Man and battle-damaged Battle Cat with display stand and accessories. The most powerful man in the universe comes with an alternate hand, shield, and vintage-style head. Highly articulated He-Man can stand on his own, has 16 movable joints including neck, shoulders, knees, hips, and more for powerful poses and fierce battle scenes. Battle Cat, the giant green tiger who ferociously loyal to He-Man, has 12 movable joints, including legs, neck, head, and jaw. Both feature metallic battle armor. The Battle Cat display stand base connects to Castle Grayskull for even more exciting storytelling possibilities. Before we get ready to go into battle, I'd first like to thank viewer Open-Ended, who kindly reached out to me and said he found the Battlefield Warriors at his local Walmart, asked if I had it yet, and I said I didn't, and was kind enough to send this my way. Thank you very much, sir. You really came through. Once again, finding a set, figures that I was unable to find locally. If you guys would like to do a solid and follow Open-Ended both on his YouTube channel, as well as check out his figure photography and more over on Instagram, I'll provide the links for both down below. For a couple of size comparisons, now this is technically Battle Armor He-Man version 2. Why I say version 2, I'm going to move this guy over for a second. We did technically already get a Battle Armor He-Man, although you can see while they are sharing the same bodies, one is definitely decked out more in a nice chrome finish. We'll look more at that in a second. For other comparisons of He-Man figures, let's bring in the original He-Man. This is He-Man from the Wave 1 Origins. And we can also bring in He-Man version 2, figure that we just recently had a look at, which is basically just the same He-Man once again, just with a vintage head sculpt. And we can also bring in Prince Adam. We have gotten ourselves quite a lot of He-Man, but as you can see, short of the V1 and V2 releases, they're all very much different from one another, especially again when we look at the Battlefield Warriors version of He-Man. Quite a lot of accessories to go through, and we'll go through each of them individually, and in some of the cases like the Battle Axe, the Battle Shield, and the Power Sword, I'll do comparisons with the previous released ones so you guys can see the difference between them. Starting first, you may see to the far right of the screen something that looks green. I spy with my little eye. What is this? This is actually part of a display stand. Oh, but it also serves another purpose as well. It gets delivered to you in the box as 2 halves. And you can see, as you're basically just going to take them and line them up with one another. I didn't do this just yet because I wanted to keep it for this review, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to separate them again. So I'm going to do this here on camera. We're going to just line everything up here, making sure, of course, everything fits in the grooves where they should be, and snap them all together. And again, I did this in this part of the review because I didn't want to snap this together and then try my best to remove it, although I think it's going to be pretty easy and straightforward to remove. Now this actually can be displayed for Battle Cats. Let's just move He-Man over and all of his accessories over for a second. You can then take Battle Cat. Let's just put the display stand down for a second. You can put Battle Cat on top of the display stand. That's pretty cool. We haven't really gotten that much really outside of the vehicles to actually get part of the terrain that we could display along with them. And it works great to be displayed with Skeletor. But it also serves one other purpose as well. Well, hold on a second. It may involve me grabbing a castle. Any chance I can find to bring in Castle Grayskull for reviews, I'll take it. But definitely in a case like this, you can take then the display stand that is used for Battle Cat. And it says, according to the instructions, that you can kind of attach it to Castle Grayskull. You're not even really so much doing it, as there's not really a connecting clip or anything on the bottom of it. But you basically just line it up to the front of the castle. It sort of gives you like a makeshift bridge, I suppose. I guess it's effective, although really when you're looking at it, if someone's trying to walk up to the castle, they're going to be coming across these big giant boulders. I guess as well, you can also have it facing this way as well, although it's not going to be completely flush and flat. But at least it gives you something else to display along with the castle, and being used the same type of plastic, it looks like the two really should belong together. Feeling like I didn't really do a great job of showing you guys this. Again, here's the display stand for Battle Cat. You can just basically put it in front of the drawbridge. It's going to prevent the drawbridge from really lowering down. Again, you can take it and spin it around this way, but it's not going to be, again, it's not a perfect flat line against the castle. It still will allow the drawbridge to open, but it's still going to have a bit of the boulders sticking in the way of things. I guess technically as well, you can kind of display it like this. You could have the boulders off to the side, so it still allows an opening for anybody to be able to walk through the castle, and again, does expand out the landscape of where Castle Grayskull is going to stand on your display. I guess, seeing as we already have the castle here anyways, a couple of other accessories that come included with He-Man is you get these little tiny dragons. Adorable little dragons, sculpted so nicely too. They're not, you know, they're not identical to one another. Clearly this one does have the wings, and they're made of softer plastic. But you'll see on the hands, their hands are actually hooked. You can attach those to different places. And actually on the packaging, it shows that you can attach these to the side of Castle Grayskull's towers. Let's go ahead and do that right now. As we look up, way up to one of the side towers of the castle, we can go ahead then and take the little dragons, and using the little clips provided for their hands, you can just latch them onto the side of the castle's towers. Now, admittingly, even though on the packaging it shows it's pretty easy to do, being that their hands are made of very soft plastic, it really does have more of a struggle. I'll take the other one here so I can maybe have a little bit better luck. They're supposed to really be able to clip onto the side of the tower, and admittingly, they don't do the greatest of jobs. The problem really boils down to the fact that they're using really super soft plastic. Sometimes I can get them on there, like there's one of them right there. Other times, like taking this one, I find is the harder of the two. You can latch them on, do the best you can to try to get them on there. This one really doesn't stay very well. The one with the wings actually does do a little bit better of a job. On to now the accessories that come included with He-Man. Starting first, he gets himself the battle axe. It's the exact same battle axe, to be fair, as the other ones that we've already gotten, although the color scheme is a little bit more silver. I'm going to bring in a couple of them now so you can see the difference. This is the original one that came included with version 1 He-Man. You can see that this has gone more the darker, almost bluish gray, whereas the one that for this release of He-Man Battle Armor release, this one does have the more, like I said, silver finish. The interior seems to be almost similar, although this one's a little bit more of a reddish color. They attach to the backs of his arms the exact same way. And for another comparison, here's the one that came included with version 2 He-Man. I guess it would be probably helpful to bring in all three of them so you can see the difference between them. This was the version 1, this is the version 2, this is the one that came included with the new Battle Armor He-Man that we're going to be looking at in this review. So it's just a matter of just picking which one you think goes best with the figure. I mean, really being that he has that chrome finish to him, this one really does do the best job for having something similar in color. This attaches to the side of He-Man's arm. All you're really going to do is line up, get the gripped hand around the handle here, and then just easily snap it into the side of his forearm. The figure also comes included, getting him to stand for a second, a battle axe. The battle axe, once again, reused from the same molds as the previous released He-Man. This is the one, I believe, that came included with the original Battle Armor He-Man. It's a slightly darker shade of gray. You can see right there. And then for another comparison, this is the one that came included with version 2 He-Man. Again, going for more of that darker bluish gray. I actually really like the coloring that they went with for the plastic here. But again, something closer, I think, to that chrome finish. The silver axe does actually look quite nice with the figure. Let's go ahead and let's put that into his hand as well. The figure does benefit already out of the packaging by already having two stock gripping hands. He does also technically come with a relaxed hand as well. If you so wish to have He-Man, I guess if you want to have him just display with a relaxed hand. I mean, being the fact that he already has two gripping hands, I don't know if I would ever be compelled to want to change one out in favor of just a relaxed hand. But it's there. It's there if you certainly want it. Another accessory coming included with the figure is the power sword. And the neat thing about the power sword is it's a full power sword. Even more the reason, I think, if you already had picked up the version 2 He-Man, or if you have not yet pulled the trigger to get the version 2 He-Man, you might not even need to get it at all, being the fact that the vintage head sculpt came included with the first Battle Armor He-Man, and being the fact that this release already has enough bells and whistles to be interesting to new collectors or old collectors to be picking up the set, that if you already have a full power sword, you might just be compelled again just to pass on version 2 He-Man altogether. And a comparison between the two, this was the power sword that came included with version 2 He-Man. I'm going to put my hand up so you can see the difference between the two. Something I haven't yet mentioned with the accessories that we've looked at so far is that all of them seem to have like a glittery look to it. You can see that there's been glitter embedded into the plastic, whereas the version 2 He-Man Power Sword had more of the matte silver finish. All of, again, the accessories that come included with this new Battle Armor He-Man, as you can see, it does have a slight glimmerish sheen to it. A glimmerous sheen. Is that even a word? I don't know. You can then take that, of course. You can either put that in He-Man's hand, which we'll do right now. Or you can also go ahead and on the back of He-Man, there is a slotted opening where you can then take the Power Sword and slide it into the back. And just in case you are curious, here's the original Battle Armor He-Man that has the same working slot on the back. So they haven't changed really anything there either. The last of the accessories, which is kind of actually interesting, we're going to just put the figure down. Let's actually take the shield out of his hand for the time being. I'm going to put the accessories over here for the moment. I'm going to grab also, just off to the side, getting that all ready. He comes also with a swappable head sculpt. From what I can tell, this is the first time that we've gotten this head sculpt. It's sort of, kind of a combination of the vintage head sculpt and a little bit of the original head sculpt mashed together. Again, comparing it to the original Battle Armor He-Man. Which, you know, to be fair, I wasn't really a big fan of this head sculpt. I don't mind the longer hair, but the surprised look on his face I found really didn't work for the character. There's certainly this option. I can easily pop that out and replace it with this head sculpt here. For other comparisons, we'll just grab off to the side here. Not make too much of a mess. This is the original Origins He-Man head sculpt. Again, you can kind of see, as I'm going to be grabbing then the next He-Man for comparison, this is the original vintage He-Man head sculpt. You can kind of see that between the two, it's sort of a blending of the original Origins He-Man head sculpt and the vintage. It's like almost the best of both worlds. But again, this one has the slightly swayed off hair to the side. The stock head sculpt, though, as we'll put this figure head sculpt down for the moment here, the stock head sculpt for the figure when you get him out of the packaging is actually just the vintage head sculpt, which is this one here, just with the blood noted on the side of his face. Blood, unfortunately, is something that's going to be a common trend with both him and Battle Cat when we look at those in a second. There's blood, unfortunately, little gashes on the side of his face, and there's also some on the side of his arm as well. To change out the head sculpt, though, which I might ultimately do, I think, for this figure, just go ahead and hold on to this torso. Hold on for dear life. We're going to go ahead and just wiggle the head off the ball joint with a satisfying snap, and then we're going to pop on the new head sculpt. And again, you can either use this head for this body, or really you could use it for a vintage He-Man body, or again, you could use it for the original Battle Armor He-Man. I keep bringing in all these He-Mans. I mean, one of the benefits certainly of having these with swappable parts is the fact that you don't have to be dedicated to keeping the head sculpt with the figure that it came with. You can easily just use it with other figures as well. Maybe we'll just keep this head sculpt on for the time being as we have a look at the rest of the figure. We'll do a quick spin around so you can see the new chrome finish that they've done for this Battle Armor release He-Man. And once again, bringing in that other Battle Armor He-Man so you can see the difference between the two. Same bodies, same arms, same lower half. Short of the fact that this one does have a few noted scarrings, a couple on his legs, and he's also got one large gash on the side of his arm. I find like the gashes are a bit off-putting. Just throws like the look of the figure off, almost as if your smaller brother, sister, maybe grabbed a marker, snuck into your room and started coloring the sides of He-Man's arms and legs. I don't really like, personally, the idea that he's got these gashes. I mean, really, what you could do, too, being the fact that they do have swappable parts, you can easily just pop the arms off. You can easily just take the torso off completely. And we're going to be doing a little bit of decapitating, I guess, removing the limbs. And you can easily just take, just as an example, you can take regular He-Man lower halves. I just happen to have pulled it from this He-Man. And you can easily just make it a regular-looking He-Man. You could do the exact same thing with the arms. Although I did notice with the arms, they were a little tighter of a joint to pull out. So if I do decide I want to replace these out, I might actually just take a hairdryer, take a few passes back and forth to soften up the plastic, and may just ultimately pull those arms off. I mean, I like the look of the chrome finish, and I do actually like the look of the swayed-off hair head sculpt. I'm not as crazy, though, admittingly, when it comes to these gashes. But, as seeing that being the case that this was what was included with the figure, let's go put that back onto the figure's body. Okay, so the original He-Man Battle Armor release. Let's go ahead and just put everything back together. Find it, put it back the way we found it, as they always say. The original He-Man, as you remember, did have the rotating, let's have it rotating the right way, it did have the rotating disc inside. So what it did have is 3 varying degrees of damage. So if you had this one, you could set it back to its original state, take something of blunt, a blunt object, and you can hit it. And that leaves 1 gash behind. Hit it again, and it leaves 2 gashes. It doesn't do it the 3rd time. It just involves you then to have to rotate it back around and set it back to the way it was. And it sort of works with a spring. So you push it in, and by pushing it in, it releases the latch and allows the gashes then to flip around. With the release of this He-Man, you're essentially getting the exact same thing. They haven't changed the mechanism. It's exactly the same. The only thing that's different really is the fact it's got the chrome finish. So it works the same way. You can turn this around. Although I did notice like the wheel seems a little easier to rotate. Maybe it's just me. But again, you can take something like just the back of the axe, for example. Let's see if we can do it with the front of the axe. And hit He-Man. Okay, there's 1. And hit it a 2nd time. And there's 2. And again, you just roll that back. I'm curious, obviously, as well, how they made the armor look this shiny. It could be vacuum-formed chrome. Worry, though, down the road, if that's the case, that whether this starts chipping, it may start flaking off. For the time being, it certainly is a nice, pretty sight on He-Man. Not really, I want to be comparing He-Man to something pretty, but it definitely does give a little bit of extra flair, I think, to He-Man when you compare it to the original. Although I do like the fact that the original was just more that stock silver paint. I gotta say, like, the chrome does work really well for He-Man here. For the articulation on the figure, it's going to be the exact same. I know we still have to look at Battle Cat here, but the head sculpt will rotate all the way around. It'll hinge up and hinge down. You will notice, though, like the coloring of the neck is notably different than the color of his face. His face is a little bit lighter. The arms hinge out. And again, this is all just regular Master Universe Origins articulation, so I'm not really introducing anything new here. There's a swivel in the elbow. You can bend the elbow back and forth. A swivel in the hand. And you can rotate the waist back and forth. You can bring the legs out. You bring the legs forward, back, bend at the knee, rotate the lower leg, rotate the boots back and forth on the foot this way, and also back on the foot back and forth on the foot this way as well. So that is He-Man. I like the chrome finish. I'm not, again, crazy, I think, about the little gashes. I think it's just unnecessary. For all the things that came included with the set anyways, factoring in that display stand, factoring the fact that you get a full power sword, a battle axe, a battle shield, I really don't think necessarily they needed to have gashes. I almost even feel the same way when it comes to Battle Cat as well. We're going to move He-Man out of the way. Let's bring the Battle Cat a little bit more to the front so you can see him. And, of course, for comparisons, because I would have to do comparisons of it, there he is next to regular Battle Cat. The bodies seem to be identical to one another. Sorry, He-Man, let's just move you out of the way completely. The bodies seem identical to one another. One thing that, of course, very apparent is, once again, they're bringing in gashes here. So when you're looking at the bodies, you could maybe say that it's a little more of a stronger green that they've used for the battle version of a Battle Cat. But, like, it seems like the head sculpts and the rest of the bodies, I'll take the helmets off in a second so you can see, but it's all these additional gashes. It's unnecessary, if you ask me. I mean, just releasing a metallic version of Battle Cat would be more than enough, especially if you already didn't get the chance to get this guy the first time around. Go ahead and take off the helmet. And it removes the exact same way. It's basically more frictioned on than anything else. And there's your regular Battle Cat or Gringer head sculpt. Cringer head sculpt. Let's go ahead and just remove the helmet from the other one. And there's Cringer the other way. Again, holding up the two head sculpts. I think it'd be safe to say that they are identical to one another. I don't think they've changed the paint at all between the two. The mouths also open up the exact same way. All the articulation is stock between the two. The kind of neat thing about the metallic version of Battle Cat is really, if you don't like the matte finish on this one, you can easily just unharness his seat from down below. And instead, I'm just not going to do it, but instead of actually having the matte finish head sculpt, the helmet that is, you can easily replace it then with the metallic head sculpt. And just to quickly show you the difference between the two. This is the matte, which I guess looks a little more like the cartoon. And this is a much more shinier. And you can really kind of see the difference too, looking at the back of the actual seated saddle. And then the front of it, how there is really much a difference between the metallic color and the matte finish. So really, again, if you wanted to, you could take this off, you know, and then just replace it with the metallic seating if you really wanted to. Let's go ahead and put that back on Battle Cat. Like with the original Battle Cat as well, the bit of a tongue twister, you can then take, of course, He-Man, bring him back in. You can bend his legs. I know you guys already know how to do this by now. And you can fit him on top of his trusty steed and just get the helmet. Just get the helmet properly in place. Like that. It does look good. It still has a bit of a problem when it comes to Battle Cat actually holding his helmet. Sometimes you don't have it the right way. The helmet does tend to fall off. But it does look nice. I just don't think necessarily Battle Cat nor He-Man needed to have the red gashes. It seems so very unnecessary. Looking at the articulation now on Battle Cats, it's going to be the same as the original one. I'll take the helmet off for the time being. The head does move up and down via the neck joint right there. It's a ball joint, so you can move that back and forth. Well, this slightly back and forth, but more up and down. The head also is on a full ball joint, so you can rotate that back and forth this way, up, down. You can also move it slightly back and forth this way. You can also open up the mouth, say ah, some nice sculpting on the tongue on the interior of the mouth. Then for the legs don't hinge out, although it sort of looks like they should. You can certainly, though, move the legs forward and back. I did notice like the top of the legs. This one isn't as so bad, but this one right here, very, very tight on the figure. He does have a bend at the lower leg area. You can bend that back and forth. You can rotate it back and forth this way. No articulation in the paws. The hind legs work the same way. Forward and back on the legs. A bend at the hind leg. I guess the back of the knee there. You can bend that, rotate that also back and forth this way. And the figure also does have tail articulation back and forth and up and down. I guess really for the best of comparisons, let's go ahead and just take the helmet, put it onto Battle Cat. Let's go ahead and take He-Man, put him on top of Battle Cat. And for just a one last look at the comparisons, let's bring in the original Battle Cat, put the helmet back on him. There we go. Put the figure down. And for a similar comparison, let's go ahead and take the battle armor, the original battle armor He-Man that we did get. Now this battle armor obviously didn't come included with Battle Cat. Battle Cat was sold as a separate piece, but at least it gives you an idea of how things have changed. The molding is going to be the same, really for both He-Man and Battle Cat. Molding is the same. And then it's simply just a case where they've decided to do something a little bit different, giving He-Man more that chrome finish look for the top torso of his armor, and giving Battle Cat more that metallic red. I don't mind the metallic aspects of the figure. The only thing I think, looking at it now, one thing I wish they wouldn't have done, is by adding all the little gash marks. I just think it's just off-putting. I mean, you could say, really, it does separate this Battle Cat from this Battle Cat. It's not just the coloring of the red of the armor. At least the gashes does make it look like a different Battle Cat, but I still don't think it was necessary. They could have just left it off completely, and you would still have a nice-looking He-Man, just with a nice, cool metallic finish instead. For their release of the Battlefield Warriors, Mattel really did throw a lot of bells and whistles in this set that if you already have the original Battle Armor He-Man and Battle Cat, you're not feeling like you're just getting the same figures again with some added additional accessories. I mean, even just look at He-Man alone. The VAC chrome finish that they've now used for his armor is very different than the original He-Man that we had, which was just more of a silver finish. I do worry, though, that over the time of having this figure in my collection, whether that chrome is going to start flaking off. I hope that they've now perfected how to do VAC chrome finish. He-Man does have a swappable head sculpt, so if you're not as crazy about the little gash on the side of his face, even though it's a vintage head sculpt, you can at least pop it off and use what I feel is the better head sculpt of the two. So good, in fact, I might even just decide not to use it with this He-Man, but use it with a different He-Man I have in my collection. Now, this one does have also the battle axe, the battle shield, and a power sword, a double-sided power sword. Let that just sit in for a second. It's even more of a valid argument maybe why you don't need to pick up version 2 He-Man, because this one does have the vintage head sculpt, gash, yes, on the side of his face, and it has a double-sided sword. Everything that the other version 2 He-Man touts to have on his own comes basically packaged with this set. The set also comes included with 2 dragons that can latch onto the side tower of Castle Grayskull. Not super successful. The one with the wings seemed to clamp on a little bit better than the one without the wings. You have the elaborate display stand that can either be used for displaying Battle Cat, or you can also have it used in front of the Castle Grayskull entryway. Just word for wise, though, if they actually want to be able to leave the castle and go into battle, you may want to clear the path and actually have it so the drawbridge can open up. So don't maybe have it look like a stone tongue. Rather, instead, have the stones off to the side, so at least that path is kind of open and free for the drawbridge to actually open up. He-Man is good. The added accessories are always a nice bonus. I'm just not super crazy when it comes to Battle Cat. I like the red finish that they've done use this metallic red, which really, I gotta admit, does look nice on Battle Cat. Again, going back to the problem I have with this set, the gashes. It's jarring for me because it looks like somebody just literally found a figure that I had on display, a younger sibling perhaps, and just started drawing all over it. I get the idea that it's supposed to be that they're both battle-torn, you know, they're battlefield warriors. I get it. But I don't know, it just doesn't work as well for Battle Cat. He-Man, at least I can pop the limbs off. I can revert him back to just a regular He-Man if I wanted to. I can't really do that with Battle Cat. At least there was that singular release of Battle Cat that if you guys are still wanting to get that one in your collection, you don't have to necessarily get the one that has the battle wounds to it. But again, like the fact that you get everything in this set as much as you do, it's really a nice welcoming set, especially for those that are now getting into collecting Master Universe Origins. You're really getting a full, complete, everything you sort of need out of the box with the Battlefield Warrior release here. Also, you may notice on the back of the packaging, teased a couple of figures too. There's Too Bad up at the top corner, right? Kind of standing in front of what looks to be like some sort of monkey warrior. And then a little further over that, right next to Skeletor, is Faker with Duplicat. Now, we already have seen Duplicat. He was a convention exclusive. I'm still sort of tempted the idea of trying to source one out. I think it's already out right now. But yeah, it's kind of neat the fact that they did have Duplicat on the back with Faker. This might be the first time in artwork-wise we've actually seen Duplicat featured. And I can't help but also notice just behind He-Man, that looks almost like Teela. But I would imagine it's probably just a guard of the Eternian fleet, not necessarily Teela. Although it's kind of interesting if that is Teela with a brand new head sculpt. Let's see how that certainly plays out. Again, a big thank you, though, to viewer Open-Ended, who picked up the Battlefield Warrior set that we could have a look at in this review. He somehow seems to luck out finding these things at local Walmarts. He seems to be going to a better Walmart than where I go. And he was, luckily enough, found it, reached out to me, and kindly sent this my way. So again, a big thank you, sir. If you'd like to follow along Open-Ended's work both on YouTube and over on Instagram, I'll provide the links down below in the video description. Today, once again, we were having a look at the brand new Mattel Masters of the Universe Origins Battlefield Warriors, brand new chrome finish Battle Armor He-Man, and a pretty interesting, though I don't like the gashes all over his body, Battle Cat. I guess it's only just one battle in Battle Cat. What do you guys think of this figure set? Let me know down below in the comments section. And hey now, if you are new to this channel, you're enjoying all the content you're seeing, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and keep your peepers peeled, because there will be more Masters of the Universe Origins reviews coming your way in the not so distant future. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.